Hello, everyone. Welcome to the True North Speaker Series. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to have an awesome show today. We have none other than Crystal Avery Cobbs. So thank you, Crystal, for joining into the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
I was so excited, for real. I was doing the interview questions and I was like, I just can't compose myself because I know this is just going to be an awesome interview. So you ready?
I'm ready. I'm going to give you my best.
Okay, let's get started. First question. Tell us, who is Crystal Cobbs?
Who is Crystal Cobbs? Many different people will answer that in different ways. But
I want you to say yes.
Who is Crystal Cobbs? I am, I don't like all the labels, but I am a mother. I think I'm a great mother, daughter, friend, but really just a person who is on a path of just trying to be the best version of me that I can be.
I like that, the best version of me that I can be. Explain it.
Ooh, you want that on this show? No,
Yes.
I'm not going to get too deep for the people, but just being just self-evaluation, really doing a lot of self-awareness, just really looking at who I am, what are the things I like about myself, even those things I may not like, but they can be used to my advantage, and we may get into that a little later when it comes to problem solving and different things like that. I really didn't like that about me, that I saw a lot of negative, but I learned that it was just who I am, how my brain works. I solve problems. And so learning to embrace even those parts that you may not like about yourself. So I love everything about me.
Yeah, but you know what? I like that though, because a lot of times when people go on a purpose journey, it's so easy to say this person did this to me, or this is why I did this to me. You know, my trauma influenced me. But to actually do self-work, it's hard. It is hard to hold yourself accountable and be true and authentic about it. Because a lot of people say, oh, self-care, and they say self-esteem, but to actually do that work and be true and authentic and take a deep dive in how I show up and what I bring to the table and try to change and maneuver and to be the best version of you is hard. So tell us just a snippet of something that you saw that need to be adjusted in a positive light, and how did you go about doing that?
I would probably start with just learning that I'm not always right. Right. I'm not always right. But being open to others, I ain't heard that. Yes, we're not always right, but also being open to different schools of thought. And one of the things that helped me with that is Middle Border Forward, which probably a lot of viewers is probably familiar with. But I started a journey in that fellowship program, and it was my first time really stepping out of my comfort zone here in Danville and interacting with other people and learning that even though you may have different viewpoints, it's okay. You know, we can still work together to accomplish the goal.
Right.
And so that was one of the first things, is that it's okay to, one, step outside your comfort zone, interact with other people, but also know that it's always something for me to learn. I don't have all the answers, and I'm not always right.
Okay, I like that. When I was reading your resume, one of the things that stood out to me, you said you was first generation college student. Mm-hmm. Tell me what it means to be the first, and how did you navigate in being the first?
So I did a whole lot by myself. I had to fill out my FAFSA and all of that kind of stuff. But I was just determined that I was going to do it. And I don't even know when the seed was planted. Well, I say I don't know, but I can even go back to Project Discovery. I was in a group called Project Discovery when I was in junior high.
Miss Hubbard and Reverend Cruz get shots out. Yes. So, I was at Project Discovery.
And I love Reverend Cruz.
Yes.
I still running to him now, but he was a very a motivating factor in me going to school. We would go on to college tours and things like that. But I didn't have, my mom nor my dad went to college, but it was just something I just knew I was going to do. And so I filled out my FAFSA stuff. I remember giving it to my mom though, to kind of you got to help me with some of this, but I just did it. I was the first one and I went away. The first semester I went to Old Dominion University. I lasted there probably a semester, and I came back home. But I finished. But then I came back home, but I went to Danville Community College for 2 years, and once I finished that, I went back to ODU's campus, and I finished out. So I graduated from there. Gosh, it's been over 20 years. 2003 is when I graduated.
Yeah, because I know I talk with a lot of kids that's in college right now, my daughter in particular, and I don't know if it's this generation or just being in a foreign place, that how they struggle. So when you was in that situation, it's like you can't just call your mom. I was like, Mom, when you was in college, what happened? Or Dad, when you was in college, what happened? Being the first generation, what piece of advice do you have for them when they navigate in a lot of this for things where they just can't call back home and ask somebody the question of how to navigate? What's some piece of advice you can give them?
Maybe finding someone else with that similar experience, whether it's somebody on campus or a family friend, your mama's friend,
Right.
who went away to college, different things like that. Just find somebody else. I have so many different mentors, people who don't even know they're my mentors, my mentors. You can really learn anything, from other people. You can learn from other people who done those same things that you may want to do. And so I would just encourage any first generation students to reach out to other people, reach out to me.
Right.
I don't mind sharing my experiences and the different ways I went about navigating it. If I had to do it all over, I would have took more advantage of my college experience. I didn't join as many different groups as I would have liked to. I was in some, but it's a good place to start networking. Do you have to go to college to be successful? You don't have to. But if there's something that you want to do, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, because for Lily, she always said, Mom, you went to Avery, it don't count.
Yeah.
I was 10 minutes from home, 15 minutes from home. And I do appreciate you reaching out to her and texting her because she said, I talked to Crystal. And I said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But it's coming from a different point of view and it's needed and it's necessary. So I personally want to say thank you for inspiring my daughter and helping my daughter navigate in those spaces.
You're welcome.
Who do you lean on for support and guidance?
A lot of people. I have a tribe. Yes, LaShawn is part of my tribe. But I have people that I meet with every single week. We meet on Saturdays. We hold each other accountable. We talk about how our week went. Also, just I believe in God as well. Like, I take the time to really sit and listen and see what are the things that I need to do. So I would say for support, my higher power, God, but also friends and family. And, it's so many different people that I can rely on. I don't feel like I have to do it by myself.
Right.
And at the times I did try to do things by myself, didn't turn out well. I internalized a lot of things instead of, letting it out, letting people know what was going on, what I needed help with. And the thing I've learned is people really want to help.
Right.
Like, we think we have to figure it all out and be superwoman, but we don't have to be.
But one thing I do like about you, when you be talking about you intentional. You are intentional. We have been together and you was like, I can't talk right now, I'm writing about girl. Can't talk right now, I'm meditating. How do you be, what is the word I'm looking for? Be intentional, but also be committed. What makes you be able to do that?
Thinking about where I came from, and I don't want to go back to that. Yeah, because I would say I had a negative mindset, and I don't want to go back to that. So even if there are days where I'm like, oh gosh, I haven't meditated, I haven't wrote in my journal, and I know like, okay, stop, because I'm the priority.
Right.
So before I leave out of my house, it's certain things I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take the medication I'm supposed to take. Right. If I don't get a chance to do a full meditation, I'm gonna take some deep breaths to just really center myself. Because it's very important, but it took me a minute to get here. Like, I first started working with, I guess I would call him my spiritual mentor, it's probably been about maybe 8 years ago.
Okay.
And, he would tell me things that I needed to do. I would do it for a little while. Things would seem to be going okay. And then I stop. And it's like, you can't stop. Like, right. You have to keep going. So this is a journey that I plan to continue on. And just looking at my life now from just 3 years ago it's a tremendous difference. And when I look at what are the things I did differently, meditation had a lot to do with it. Journaling had a lot to do with it. Being accountable to other people had a lot to do with it, and so I'm thankful for my tribe.
Okay. One thing that we know that Black women, they are the fastest growing demographic for entrepreneurship, but yet and still they face so many issues when they have their businesses around sustainability. Tell us, what does that look like for Black women? What is some advice about how do you stay competitive? How do you keep those low margins and have high profits? And how do you create sustainability?
So I would say access to capital is one of the things.
Right.
we struggle with the most. I think most new entrepreneurs, but especially Black women, they're the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs, but they get the least amount of capital. And so what I would say is being intentional about what you're doing, having your business plan. I successfully was an entrepreneur for a full year with no other support in my house other than me. And so that was a big accomplishment for me, to be able to do that. But then I had to get creative. It was like, okay, you need to find another source of income. And so I would say to people, like, don't be afraid to pivot and do what's best for you. Like, it doesn't matter how other people think about it, how other people feel about it. Do what's best for you. And I'm going to always do what's best for me and my children, at the end of the day. And so just being creative, finding different sources of income, do the simple things like get your business license. In the city of Danville, it's so many opportunities that people miss over because they don't have a business license. Like something that's simple, they were giving away grant funding and people didn't have their business license. And so it's like, take care of those small things, changing your logo. Yeah, that's great, whatever, but really take care of the fundamentals. And a lot of times, first generation entrepreneurs, they don't know those simple things. Minority women-owned businesses, they may not have had somebody else in their family who was an entrepreneur. So any classes that you see, take those classes. I hope I'm answering your question, Corinne, because I done went all somewhere else. Just it's so many. Use the tools and the resources available to you is what I would say. And start with those things that may seem small. Getting your LLC, get your business license, sign up for the free business classes. The SBDC, they have so many free classes. So if you can't afford to pay a consultant, go to them. I mean, their services are free. The tax money is paying for it, but somebody is paying for it. So utilize those services. And so that would be my suggestion.
And it almost feed into the next question. It's like, what is the idea? Where did the idea for your business come about? But now I see how easy it is for you to talk about business. But how did it come about to come up with Cobbs Consulting LLC?
So it was really, it was during the pandemic that I've been, in some form of entrepreneurship for years. Even though I was working full time, I was always had some type of side hustle. And I feel like, I won't jump there. So how did Cobbs Consulting come about? During the pandemic, I just saw that there was a need, particularly around Black businesses. They really didn't know those things I talked about that needed to be done. They just really didn't have their business set up properly.
Right.
And so I'm a helper by nature, is just who I am. And I just felt like it was time for me to, it was during the pandemic, I needed to make a change. I needed to be home with my kids because schools were shut down at that time. And so I met with a coach, I'm a business coach, and sat down with her and we looked at what was my skill set. Like what were the things that I was good at? And, that's what came about. I knew a lot about entrepreneurship and there was some things that people would come to ask me about. And she was like, you're already operating in that. So that's how Cobbs Consulting came about. And we've since expanded to partner with another entrepreneur. So we're able to offer more things. And that's another thing, like you can't be afraid to do something different. And so now we pretty much can offer anything a business needs. We went from, I went from just doing consultations and business plans to now offering website development, logos, and all kinds of things. And even though I may not be in my business full time every single day, it doesn't stop. And that's really what, you want to get to a point where your business takes care of you. It continues to go on even if you're not around.
I like one of the things that you was talking about. You was like, it's easy, it flows. I know for me, with Farmers Consulting Connecting, a lot of times I end up giving away stuff, just giving away information. How do you balance? Okay, let me send you my link for payment let me just drop this little nugget of information. How do you do that? Because I struggle with that. I struggle with it too. In 2023, though, I started off with a saying, and I don't even know if I was the originator of it, but I say nothing for free in 2023 because I give away so much, and I've given away so much. But I had to start thinking about, like, this is a business, and like my children, they changed my whole world. So when I think about it, I'm like, wait a minute, this is taken away from my household. It's taken away from my family. So I still tell people stuff. Like I'll have somebody who will send me a text like such and such told me to check with you about how to set up the LLC.
And I'll just tell them what to do, or I'll schedule a call and do it for them, because that's just who I am. But I also have set boundaries. Like I'll know, I'll know who may be trying to get over versus who really need help. And so, and the other thing I've had to do was really just pivot more towards organizations, working with organizations as well. So finding out who your customer base is and who can afford your services. And that was on me to do.
Okay, Crystal, so tell me, what was the key or the driving force to becoming an entrepreneur?
I don't like for people to tell me what to do.
I figured that. I could have answered that. No,
seriously, no. I don't. That does have something to do with it, but you still have people telling you what to do, right? Your clients and customers don't tell you what to do. But my uncle. I have an uncle who, for as long as I've been alive, I've known him to be an entrepreneur, and I always just loved that he had time freedom. Like time freedom is important to me. And so it's just several people that I always really admired who were able to be entrepreneurs and make a living for their family, but also control their time. And
right.
So, I'm a little bossy.
What's crazy? Like my dad, he was a mechanic, so mechanics make money. But he would never charge what he was supposed to. He would always say, give me whatever you got, give me whatever you got. But he worked full time as they had a mechanic for Marshall Construction. But he could never balance. How do you balance that funding? How do you balance that when they start talking about, okay, how do I determine my fees? When I'm going to be consistent about my fees? When do I get a hookup? When do I give a coupon? What does that look like?
I would say it takes, you just have to play around with it and figure out. There are things you can do. You can do, and the correct term I'm looking for, cost analysis, but just kind of do some research. What are other entrepreneurs or people in a similar business that you're doing, what are they charging?
Gotcha.
Because of course you don't want to be overpriced, because especially we're here, in the city of Danville, people may not be making as much money as other places, so they just may not have it. And so you don't want to be priced out by your competition. So it just takes you just have to kind of figure it out. So I raised my prices this year. I eliminated some services. You just have to see what are the things that's worth your time. So just really going back to always evaluating your business plan and what are the things that you need to do.
I like that cost analysis. I need to do that because I don't think I'd be charging enough.
I'm sure you don't.
I like that cost analysis. I'm gonna tell my husband
that might not be the right term I'm looking for right now, but
that's comprehensive though. I know what that means, so I don't know what the right term is. That's a term that I can understand. How did you build a successful customer base?
I think just because it was just what I do. People like me.
That's what I was ready to say, but I wanted you to answer it.
Like people like me and they trust me. You know, I don't have to pretend. They know that I'm genuine and I'm honest and I'm going to tell them the right thing.
And you lane driven. Everybody don't stay in their lane.
Oh yeah,
so that's what makes
nobody else.
Yeah, so that's I think also what makes you very, very successful. You stay in your lane. Like this is what I know how to do, and when you say, okay, I don't offer that service, but I can connect you to the person who offered that service. And I think by doing that, other people say, I don't offer that service, but I can connect you to Crystal, and she offered that service. And I think that's what makes you have that consistency, and that's what makes you more impactful. Because when you purpose driven and lane driven, that's when you get the greatest impact. I know with me working with you as a customer, I was just like admire like how you just was spitting it off. Like you spitting it off, click, 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 click. And I was like, oh, I couldn't even find the website.
And that was the other thing I had to like. I take for granted the things that I know.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, it's easy to do. And I'm always like, oh, it's easy to do, but it's not easy for everybody.
Exactly.
And so I would say to a person who they have a skill set or something that they know how to do and they want to go into business for themselves, even if it's a side hustle. What are the things that you're good at? Like what are people always coming to you for?
Right.
Or what would you do for free? Even though we're not doing free in 2023, what would you do for free?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that piece of it, I do get a lot of referrals because I worked with you one time and I may, provide that service and you pay me that one time. But most people know if you come back to me, if it's nothing huge, I'm going to tell you what it is. Like you can text me and I'll tell you what you need to do.
Yeah, I
But
know
if I
your
need to
ears
send
be
you an
burning.
invoice, I will.
I know your ears be burning because I be saying Cobbs consult, the Cobbs consult, the Cobbs consult. I probably said it in my
Appreciate
sleep because I mean you do good work. I'm not gonna knock it. You do good work. So what does your marketing look like? I heard you say the word of mouth and then just delivering good product. But what is your marketing? What does that look like?
So thankfully, recently I did obtain a grant through the city of Danville again
Okay.
because I had my stuff in place, and I was able to bring somebody on to help me with my own social media marketing because that was part of the problem. Like I'm marketing everybody else's business, but people really don't know everything I do. I mean, friends and family know
Right.
that you want to move your business outside of yourself, and so we've been pretty consistent with setting up our social media. At least maybe 3 posts go out a week on social media, updating the website, making sure the SEO and all of those things are in place. So some more things are coming. We're gonna have some printed materials and all that good stuff too. But yeah, but those are some of the things I do. But I'm heavy on social media marketing. Like if you have a business and you're not on social media, what are you doing?
Right. So we're gonna pivot. So what made you run for school board?
I was not satisfied with my children's school experience.
Yeah.
That's, really what happened. And it wasn't even not a blame on the schools. It was real. I didn't see parents showing up.
Right.
We had a PTA meeting and I was the only parent there. I was
Oh,
like, wait a
wow.
minute. I just remember my mom,
Right.
going with me to PTA meetings and different things like that. And so we started a grassroots organization called Parents of the Schools. At the same time, when I was in middle border forward, and everybody, I guess, saw how passionate I was about parent engagement and education, and they were like, "You really should run for school board." And I was like, "No." And my then husband was like, "No." So he kept saying no. And then finally one day we were at this event, and this young lady pretty much talked him into, letting me run, and as they say, the rest is history.
Tell me about that experience.
The campaign experience.
The campaign experience, winning, and navigating as the school board. Because you was just a school board member, then you end up being the chair before you rolled off. So let's just tell me about that experience. Because I don't think people really know. It's hard just watching it and then being the person that's doing it. So tell me about that experience.
So the campaign experience, it was fun, but it was a lot of work. And I don't think I realized how much work it was until I think it was all over, because I was in my own treasurer.
Wow.
I did my own social media marketing with some help from some other people. And I had a great team. So I had so many people who volunteered on the Cobbs campaign. Team Cobbs is what we were. So many people who volunteered and helped at the polls and different things like that, but it was a lot. And then when you get on the board, and people will tell you it's not what you think it is. It's not what you think it is. And it's really not what people think it is. Like, you think you're going to go in there, you're going to change everything. No, you're not. That's what you have a superintendent for. And so I appreciate the experience. Like, we hired a new superintendent during the time I was on the board. We had to deal with the pandemic when I was on the board. So many things.
Wow.
So it was a very stressful time. But I also learned a lot, and I would not trade that experience. My colleagues were great. I got to, again, work with a lot of different people who we didn't always agree, but it was about the kids.
Right.
We always wanted to do what was best for the kids. So yeah, it took a lot. It took a lot when you really care about it. And if you just want to sit on there and you're not really reading everything you're supposed to be reading, and maybe it won't take a lot out of you. But when you really doing the things you're supposed to do, it takes a lot. And being the chair just added more responsibilities to that. But I, was able to work closely with the superintendent and trust that, okay, she knows what she's doing, and the state pretty much confirmed she knew what she was doing. So, so it was a lot.
And I think a lot of people don't really realize how much primary and secondary education impact our community. You was like, oh, I'm the only one sitting in the PTA meeting. I'm the only one being involved in our school volunteering. Explain to people from a parent perspective, but also as being on the school board, how primary and secondary education really impacts our community.
It does. I mean, it's so important. And like the same things I was saying then, I'm still saying now. So I'm like, this was in 2018, maybe, you know, when we started this conversation, maybe before then, because I think I started the campaign in 2018. I got elected in 2018. So probably 2 years before that, since 2016, I've been saying the same thing. It's going to take our entire community to turn the school system around. And that starts in the home. Like, what are parents doing in the home to help their children? It's as simple as picking up a book and reading, you know, when they're young. Like, start reading to your children. Check their book bags, especially at the elementary age. I know as they get older, you may not check their book bags every single day, but what is your child bringing home every day? Send back the folders. You know what I'm saying? I used to teach, so like that kind of stuff. So a lot of things, I know everybody wasn't raised the same. Everybody didn't have a great school experience, but really what I want our community to know is education is so very important, and it determines a lot of the industry we'll see in our community. You know, we want to say we have all of the schools accredited, but what are you doing?
Right.
To play your part, even for people who may not have children in the schools, it's still affecting you because you know you're a citizen here. And so I would just really encourage our community to get behind the schools. You know, whatever it is that you can do, whether it's volunteering or starting it in your own house with your own child. Read to your children. Make sure they show up. Like, accreditation has a lot to do, attendance has a lot to do with accreditation. So if your children are missing school and not going to school, that's counting against, you know, accreditation. And so it's those little things that I don't think people realize. That I wish we could do away with SOLs. Like, I really wish we could, but that's not something that we fight on.
Yeah.
A local level, that's, you know,
State, yeah.
federal, state, you know, they put those mandates there. And so really it's adding stress to everybody else. Teachers are stressed out, parents are stressed out, we're stressing the kids out because it's all about passing the SOL, and some people say you're teaching to the test and all of those different things. But really, if we can get everybody in the community, and I've seen a lot more people stepping up as far as businesses contributing school supplies, which I think there's a better way we could do all of that. You know, you see a lot of school supply drives and different things like that, which, you know, is very helpful. But really taking the time to read to your children and making sure they go to school. Like, those two things, if we could get our community to do more of that, we would see a difference.
Because coming from an economic eye point, I know a lot of businesses, if school's not accredited or they don't see the community invested, they won't bring their business here because they know they got to have a hiring pool. And if the hiring pool are not educated, like sometimes when I was working at the workforce, the reading grade for Danville was the 5th grade. That's when I worked at the workforce. I mean, the data don't lie. It is what it is. So I'm saying, if I got a business or a big manufacturing company, why would I come here? Because how am I be able to hire qualified candidates? And that's why I tell people, it's more than just your front door. It's more than just you and what you do. It takes all of us, and we all got to play our part and do buy-in to make a better community and focus on what we need to do for our kids to be educated, even just from an economic eye point. If you want to look at it any other way, it's talking about money in your pocket. Look at it from that angle, money in your pocket, and maybe that may change some people for them to get invested into our education instead of saying So what does civic engagement mean to you, and why is it so important?
I would probably go way back to when I was a little kid and my mama used to make me go to nursing homes. So I grew up really being engaged and volunteering, going to the nursing homes and singing the little Christmas songs and passing out candy canes and all this stuff. But I'm thankful for the experience now that my kids, they totally different. We did it. Like, you ain't gonna be dragging me everywhere. But they did help me out with my campaign. But no, really, my mom instilled it in me, you know. And my mom, I fuss at her because she has so many skills and talents. And, you know, she don't really charge nobody for that either. But my mom, she was a giver.
She still is. Because I've been seeing her in other places.
Everything. And so really, it just came from my mom.
I love it.
Yeah. That's where I got it from. And I fuss at her, and I'm just like my mom. I'm like, I fuss at her about everything she do, and I do the same stuff. But
so tell us, I know you off the school board. So tell us, what other boards you sit on right now? What civic engagement projects are you involved with?
So I recently joined the United Way
Okay.
board, and after I got off the school board, I said I was not joining anything. So the first time they approached me, I was like, no, I don't have the capacity. That's my new
That's our
phrase.
new word. Capacity. That's our new
I
word.
don't have the capacity to take that on right now. So, I told him I didn't, but I ended up going, actually, I can't remember. It may have been, we went on a trip, but it had something to do with policy or economic development, something along those lines. And the president of the United Way was there.
Okay.
And she was talking, and she was a Black woman, and I was just really impressed with hearing her talk about the different things United Way was doing. And so I was like, Crystal,
That's confirmation.
yeah, just go on and do it. So, and I really, I know the new executive director, Kathy Gore, is great. We've been co-workers before, and so I just really like the direction that the United Way is going in. So that is actually, I think, maybe the only board I'm serving on. We're still working on the Black Business Collaborative Project.
Okay.
If people are wondering what's happening with that, it's still going forward. We're right now in the strategic planning phase, and hopefully that'll be wrapped up soon. So that's, another thing that we've been working on that I would say is civic engagement as well as economic development.
But I don't think people understand what strategic planning is. It's just not, okay, let's write down some goals.
No, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot, but it's important. If your organization, nonprofit or for-profit, don't have a strong foundation, it won't last. And if you have an organization, I tell everybody, really look at strategic planning and capacity building, because that is what determines sustainability.
Right.
I really believe that. And so, yes, Black Business Collaborative is going through a strategic plan, but I think it's going to benefit not only the organization, but the community at the end of the day.
It will, because
Yeah.
we've already learned so many
much,
things,
yeah.
just in the preliminary findings, we've learned a lot about the things that the community needs, and so so I'm looking forward to finishing that up. And it was, you talked about capacity building, and I can't think of the word, it's CCAT. But
CCAT, yes.
No, is it CCAT? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Assessment,
even organizations do that. I recently participated in the facilitator training for that. So that's something else I'll be able to help organizations with. But it's so important, like capacity building. What does your organization have? What does your organization need? And so that can help with sustainability.
Even to just how to do the mission statement, because we were like third phase. But anyway, how do you balance work, motherhood, life, and community? How do you balance?
So I learned from someone there is no balance. There's no such thing as balance. I used to try to,
because I
know that it's no such thing. I used to be like, balance, how do I balance it all? It's no balance. So whatever you're involved in at that moment, give your best at that. Some days I'm gonna be a great mom, some days I'm gonna be a great business owner, some days I'm gonna be a great friend, some days I'm gonna be a great daughter, but I'm not gonna be all of that in the same day. It's just not gonna happen.
Wow.
So I had to let that philosophy go, and it was Jennifer Gregory. Again, going back to Middle Border Forward, which was such a great organization.
Yeah.
Going back to that, but I believe she was the one who said there is no such thing as balance, and ever since then, that freed me.
Yes. I can't wait to get home.
You gotta be
right in my journal. There's no such thing as balance. That's almost like there's no place like home. That's real for real. There's no such thing as balance. Wow.
It freed me.
I'm free for real. Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes.
That's all I go. I'm for real. That's almost like a Holy Ghost moment.
Take off and run around.
This is a good question, right? This is a segue. How do you maintain your inner peace?
It goes back to meditation.
Yeah.
Meditation and being sure I'm doing the things that feel right for me. If it's something that doesn't feel right for me, learning to let it go faster than what I used to. I used to try to stick with things or make it work because, I got involved with something, but if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't bring me peace, to let it go.
And no.
That knowing, a lot of times we know deep in our depths, we know when stuff is not right or it's not for us. I told you I recently took on another job. So currently a substance abuse counselor.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes. And so
I can see you doing that though.
and I love it. Yeah, I'm loving it. And I had like, it was 3 different job opportunities, and I knew this was right for me. I could have said yes to the other ones and stayed in a comfortable place, but it was like, no, that's not it. So
You talked about earlier about being a mentor, but tell us who was or is your mentor and how have they impacted you when it comes to being purpose driven?
Gosh, I have so many. I don't want to call them.
I love that. You don't have to call names. Just talk about the
I have
experience.
so many mentors, and like I said earlier, you know, some of them know they are my mentor, and some of them don't know because they never met me. You know, maybe in real life, but just maybe reading a book, reading somebody's book, and learning something, or seeing how somebody else is operating their business and learning different things. So I have so many, you know, and for different things, for different reasons. But especially it's a lot of women who've been mentors to me in business. One of them who actually gave me my first job.
Okay.
Gave me my first job as a babysitter, and it was like a full circle moment. Now I'm able to refer clients to her all the time for the services that she offers, and you know, and she works with me and refer people to me. So yeah, it's just.
And I know you don't want to call names, but you got to talk about Miss Judy.
I love Miss Judy. And you know what? When you said mentor, like she was really the first one that came to mind. I was like, I can't start calling names.
I know I said the name. Crystal didn't say the name. I said the name.
It ties into North Maine because like Camp Grove raised me, being in the Camp Grove community, which is on the north side of town. You know, I would walk up the street pretty much every day after we would get off the bus and spend time at what we call the center, Stonewall Recreation Center with Miss Judy, which is now Camp Grove Center. But Miss Judy, it's nobody like Miss Judy, and she just knows. It's like one of those situations where she'll call like right when I need her. Or sometimes I feel a pull, like, you need to go see Miss Judy. And she'll like say something that I needed to hear, you know. And so she has been, not just to me, like most people who grew up in Camp Grove consider her like a mom, you know. And so I say she calls me her goddaughter. Yeah. And her and my mom's birthday are the same day, you know. So it's just so many things. Right. But yeah, they
give me cold chills.
Definitely. A mentor, a woman that you know, I give my flowers to now while she's still here.
And I hear you talk about Miss Judy a lot, because one thing you always say, it's just always perfect timing. It's always perfect timing. And I want people who looking for mentors or people that help them, guide them through life and find purpose, to find someone who brings that to you, because it's hard. Anybody can be a mentor. I'm just talking about somebody helping you with your business plan or having that. But when you talk about a true person like that, when you get someone like that, it's life changing.
Somebody this is a connection.
So look for people like that when we start talking about mentors and people that help you navigate through life, that just give you the cold chills or just call it the perfect time that brings you peace. Look for that. In your words, tell us what it means to be Black and female in the region, Dan River region, and how you navigating that.
Black and female. The struggle is real. It's a struggle. I love Danville. My older people will hear me say I have a love-hate relationship with Danville. That's just my truth. You know, that's my truth. But I love Danville. Danville raised me. I am who I am because of the region I grew up in. But it takes a whole lot of navigation to really get to the things that you feel like you need to be successful.
Right.
So I would just say it has taken a lot of tenacity. Like, I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna figure out a way to do it. You know, if the doors are not open, we gonna figure out another way. But we gonna get what.
And y'all see, that's the difference between me and Crystal. Crystal like, we gonna figure out another way. I'm like, kick the door down.
I'm trying to be polite and professional.
Kick the door down. Okay, but you hear what she said? We'll find another way.
We'll find another way to get it done, and we get it done. I mean, even with it's going back to the Black Business Collaborative. It's like, how dare you say you starting the Black Chamber of Commerce in the city of Danville, in the land's capital of the Confederacy? Like, who do you think you are? You know, like those type situations. But we had to say, we're doing this because it's about generations to come. It's not about us.
Right.
It's about the generations that we're going to leave a mark for, who will have a blueprint to follow, who will know what needs to be done when you're starting off, a business. And so I would just say it has been difficult in this region, but I've also been afforded a lot of opportunities. I've worked on a lot of different projects with economic development, and so again, it's just kind of, you have to see things for what they are. One phrase this lady used to always say, which was another mentor, she used to be my pastor, she's passed away now, but she used to always say, put your big girl panties on and deal with it. So what I'm saying, even when you have to go in rooms where people may not think you belong in, just go show up and deal with whatever comes, and just be professional, really learn how to operate in those spaces. Sometimes we can't say everything we want to say.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You just have to learn to save that conversation for your girlfriends.
Right.
But just go in and do what you need to do, and then call them and vent if you need to, or no, we're not gonna write the negative in our journal. So
right.
We're not gonna do that. So, but just vent if you need to, get it out, dump whatever you need to do. But just keep showing up.
Tell us, what is your greatest accomplishment to date?
I know it's gonna sound like cliche, but my children.
Oh, that's not cliche.
My children, just raising 2 boys, black boys. I was one who always said I did not want children.
Wow.
People are surprised when I say, but I was white. And it was because I didn't want to, my mindset was I don't want to bring them into this world. It's like, it's just too, I don't want my children to have to be in a world that can be evil sometimes. But, now I try to look at the good, more so. But my children really changed my life. I feel like I've always been one who was kind of outspoken, but when it came to my kids, it really was like, oh, I'm gonna speak up for them. It really lit a fire in me, and so I'm really proud of being a mom and really raising 2 children who are respectful. They may not get it all right all the time, just like their mom doesn't, but they're really 2 great kids that's on a great path. And so
I love Caleb and Josh.
Yes, my baby.
Tell us, what personal boundaries have you set around yourself here lately?
Just saying no to a lot of things that I just really cannot take on, and not feeling bad about it.
Yeah.
I can't allow myself to feel bad about those things that I'm just physically not able to do, or mentally not able to do, that I just really don't have the capacity for. I know we joked about it, but it's a real thing. It's just some things I don't have the capacity for. And so just learning to say no, and not feeling guilty about it, and learning to charge for my services. Those are the things.
Not to get too deep, but what would you say to that little 8 or 9-year-old Crystal? The things that if you knew then that you know now, what would you say to the little 8-year-old, 9-year-old Crystal?
So it's this picture that my mind always goes back to. I was standing in my great grandmother's front yard. I probably was maybe 4 or 5, but I had on a white shirt and this little pink skirt, and I had pink bows in my hair. But I would say to her, you are beautiful, you are smart, you are intelligent, and to love yourself. Because for a long time I did not. I did not love myself. Love yourself. So that's what I would say to her.
Okay, so tell us about your life philosophy.
Life goes on.
I love that.
No matter what happens, life goes on.
Yeah.
Life goes on. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that short.
Yeah, I like it. What does leadership mean to you?
What does leadership mean to me? I don't know. It comes natural, I think, for me, and that's another thing I did not realize. But leadership comes naturally for me. Being a servant leader, I feel like knowing that it's not about you. You know what I'm saying? You're serving the people. And so I just think leadership and it can look different in a lot of different ways, but just not being afraid to step out there and do those things that need to be done. It's not always comfortable, but just showing up and being who you are.
You the first person I heard when I said, tell me what leadership means to you. You were the first person to say not being afraid. You got to say more on that. Not being afraid. How do you do that?
Well, that takes some work too. 'Cause I used to be scared and I don't know what about everything.
Yeah.
so you used to just not having fear, just knowing everything is gonna be okay. Like all is well. That's one of the things I've learned to say. Like all is well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's gonna be okay. One thing I used to say a lot was feel the fear and do it anyway. Like if you in that space where fear may still be an issue for you, just feel it and do it anyway.
When I was talking to Evelina, she was the first one that I interviewed for this speaker series. We talked about passing the baton, but how can we build leaders in this community? Because I think we're not intentional enough about that. We just say, you want to be on this board, fill out this application, but how can we build leaders? Because I think that's very important. What's your, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, like you just said, being more intentional. I think being intentional, if you see, and I just say young girls, I know that young boys too, but just, I would say mostly young girls are who we interact with more, but just being intentional about trying to show them different opportunities and different ways of doing things. So I don't know if and I know there are leadership programs here in the city, but I do think there are ways that we could be and should be more intentional about building the next generation of leaders.
And I think another thing, by being in a small town, small region, grace is so important. A lot of people can transfer in to Danville and they'll get 1 foot ahead because people don't know their past. And I think we have a lot of great people here in Danville, but we're so caught up because we know them. We knew them, we know them, we know everything about them, so they don't get that great opportunity. So I try to tell people all the time, show grace, provide learning opportunities, give resources, but at the end of the day, give a little bit of grace because you know their story. But you hire somebody, Tom, Dick, Harry, and you don't know nothing about them outside their resume, and you give them an opportunity that a lot of times I feel, this is just my opinion, that locals can offer. I love working with everybody that I work with, but a lot of times the reason for the not hire is because, I remember when, and we don't show that grace. Right. And especially we're not going to provide resources, like you said, the leadership opportunities, the resources, the things to make them a better person or a strong leader.
Yeah. And I think the reality is the people closest to the problems are the ones that have the answers. And so it's a lot of people in the community who can solve a lot of these problems. But like you said, they don't get the opportunity because, people, they may not have shown up in the way that, others thought they should have. So I think, the word you use, grace, is important. Like, at least give them the opportunity.
Right. And that's hats off to my boss, Diana, because when I started working at River District Association, the one thing she said, one of the main reasons why I hired you is because I know you will talk to the community. I know you'll get their viewpoint and you'll let them lead the way. And I think that's very, very important. If I'm not at the table, it's not going to work. You got to get the voice of the people. They got to be involved with it. And if you just do it that way, it makes it a whole lot easier. So I challenge people to say, ask the community what they want, what they need. And I know people don't know what they don't know, but at least give them some examples to go by and let them allow them feedback.
Right. And another phrase that I've heard said too is, nothing about us without us. So we shouldn't be making any plans that's going to impact me or my community, and you haven't even talked to the community about it. So, you just showing up saying this is what we're going to do without getting feedback from the citizens first. So just with and that could be really with any type of project, just nothing about us without us.
I'm gonna have to pin this one because I did so much. I'm about to go back and watch it like 10 times. So this will probably have like 1 million views.
That's from you.
What is your greatest memory about North Main? You talked a little bit about it earlier, but what's some of your greatest memories about North Main?
Walking all over North Main with my friends. Yes. Like we still talk about it. I have friends, we've been friends for like 30 plus years, and we would just walk all over North Main together. So I just remember that, as I was joking earlier, there's really no way in Danville I'm really scared to go, because I'm just, I've been all over.
And
all over the community and walking.
This is a walking community. Like this is a walking neighborhood. I mean, it don't even need traffic. This is a walking community.
So we would walk from, Camp Grove neighborhood to
Quick Check.
just all over the place. Yeah. We would walk to the south side sometimes. But yeah, so you know, and then it's like sometimes I'm like telling my kids, don't go too far.
Right.
But I used to be all over the place. But yeah, so those are some of my fondest memories.
What are you doing to make sure the work you have invested in this community is not in vain? How are you passing the baton? I said it earlier, but what are you doing yourself to make sure that your work is not in vain? Because I hear you say, I don't want my kids to be fighting the same battles that I'm fighting. You say that all the time. So what are you intentionally about doing to making sure that you pass on what your investment?
Some of the things I feel like have already been done as far as if you look at the different schools, like serving on the school board, I came in at a great time with some plans were already put in motion, but we hadn't had new school buildings in forever. And so that's something, you know,
Right.
I'll be able to look back and say, hey, we were part of that, you know, GW's new track and those different things. So, and that just doesn't affect, you know, the kids now. Those buildings will hopefully be around, you know, at least 50 years from now. So
You got to sneak
doing
down to the
things like
track
that.
and write your name in the
late. It's already down there. But so that I would say just coming into policy changes, though,
Okay.
like doing that work was really important work. Even, you know, some people you talk to, they be like, oh, they ain't doing that. You know, they think we were just yes men, but we did a lot, you know, and so I'm really proud of that accomplishment. But also just knowing like I don't have to be the one who does everything.
Right.
Like I'm okay with starting something and then leaving it for the
Right.
next person to carry it out. So just not being selfish about the projects that I've worked on, and because it's at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about you know, what are we leaving? So I would just say being intentional about the projects that I work on. And not being selfish in that, oh, I'm the only one who, you know, has control of this project. But also just when I can, talking to other people, you know, whether it's young kids or somebody else, you know, that's struggling with something, just being sure I'm not hoarding information.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so what do you see as the possibility for North Main?
North Main is going to be, it's already making changes. I see, you know, I know there are a lot of business owners, and so I look forward to their facade being, you know, fixed up. Ronald Pool has been around forever, you know, so like places like that. I just look forward to seeing it being lively again, like people walking up and down these sidewalks and, you know, having lunch on the sidewalk and different things like that.
Oh, yes.
So somebody open up a bistro or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, what legacy do you want to leave behind?
I feel like my greatest legacy will be my children being successful.
Yeah.
Living productive lives. Like, and I guess then I would probably go even further to say at the end of the day, people who know me will say she did the right thing.
Yeah.
And so that's really what I want it to be. They may not like the way I say or do things sometimes, but knowing that I tried to do the right thing.
Right, and I think it's no right or wrong answer to some things, but one thing I can attest to, if that's the right word, that you always do things with a true heart.
Yeah, and that's what I was ready to say. One thing that it was something I used to say, with a clear mind and a pure heart is what I tried to, before I had to make any, you know, really big decisions, going into it with a clear mind and a pure heart. It's really important.
Girl, you spent some nuggets today. I love it. Last question. What is your favorite mantra or quote?
We have to go back to life goes on.
Life goes on.
No matter what happens, life goes on. It's gonna keep moving, so we gotta move with it.
Yeah. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
This was fun.
It was.
I really do appreciate you doing this. Thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys each month for watching our videos. You will be able to see this video on True North, on our North Main business page. Also, you'll be able to watch it on YouTube on the River District Association, and you will also be able to see it on RGM television. So thank you. Bye-bye.